Let's take a look at how to use the having clause in SQL. The having clause is used in combination with the group by clause to restrict the groups of return rows to only those whose condition is true. What does this really mean? I like to think of the having clause as a special where clause that can only be used on a group by clause when it is present. Let's take a look at this in practice to get a better understanding as to how it truly works. So today we'll be using our vehicle table, so let's do a select statement on that to see the records that are present. So what we can see is that we have 8 rows in this particular table that has 4 columns. Now to be able to use a having clause, we need a group by clause to be present. So let's look at this problem statement and see how we can go about creating a statement with a having clause. So it's asking us to find all vehicle makes where the sum of their cost is greater than 135,000, and we need to include the number of the vehicles for each make. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going through and creating this statement and ensuring that the errors are present, and then we'll also course correct to get a full understanding as to how things work in this particular statement. So we'll start off by providing our select keyword, and in this case we're interested in finding the make and the sum of the cost, as well as we are interested in counting the records in a particular table. Now the table that we're getting the information from will be the vehicle table. And before going any further, I'm going to execute this statement to see the information that we have so far. So far we are not able to execute properly, as to be able to use an aggregated function we need a group by clause to be present. So what we'll be doing is adding our group by clause and including all of the columns present in our select statement, our select clause. So now we're going to execute and see what information will be returned. So we run into another error, and that's because we should not include the aggregated functions in the group by clause, as it will automatically be included. So we will remove this, and then we're going to re-execute, only keeping the make column in the group by clause. So in executing, what we're seeing now is it returned 2 records, make Honda and make Toyota. It also provided the sum of all of the Hondas that are present, which is 129,000, and the sum of all of the Toyotas that are present, which is 170,000. And this column represents the number of vehicles that would be present in this whole sum for the Honda. So now what we want to include now is our having clause, as our problem statement is only requiring us to show all the vehicle makes where the sum of their cost is greater than 135,000. So in this case we'll include our having clause, and we're interested in the sum of the cost that is greater than 135,000. So we're going to execute, and what we're seeing is it returned only one row with Toyota and the cost, that the sum of the cost, which is 170,000, as it is greater than 135,000. But what is the real difference between the having clause and the where clause? As the having clause is a very special function or a very special clause that's used with the group by clause, how can we really determine when to use it versus when to use a where clause? Now, if we are interested in only finding the sum of the cost for all the vehicles that are in this particular table, where the color is not white, then what we'll try to do is use in our having clause that particular criteria where we include color, color is not equal to white, so we're going to execute. What we're seeing is we have returned an error as we are unable to include a column in our having clause that is not present in our group by clause. So how would we go about approaching this? By removing all of the colors that have white and then only finding the sum of that cost. In this case, we'll actually put this criteria in our where clause, as it will be executed before the having clause. So we'll include where color is not equal to white, and we will put back our sum cost greater than 135,000. So we're going to execute, and what we're seeing now is no data has been returned. Why is that? Let us run this statement without our having to see all the records that would be present. So we'll have two records being returned where the sum of the cost for the Honda is 74,000 and the sum of the cost of the Toyota is 131,000. And this is because we have now removed all the vehicles where the color is white from the make of these vehicles, so it would not be included into the sum. So our takeaways: we're only able to use our having clause when a group by clause is present, and if it is that we want to make an adjustment on the data that we have returned, the column included in the having clause must be present in the group by clause. If it is not present, the only way you're able to make that type of adjustment is to add that criteria in your where clause.